I was so incredibly disgusted, honestly, with some comments made by Democratic State Representative Julia Reed. She represents part of Seattle, the 36th Legislative District. The following segment is presented in partnership with Future 42. Turn your frustration into action at future42.org. We can never get to a point where we're okay with politicians manipulating us, or politicians speaking down to us, or politicians outright lying to us. I'm worried that we've started to accept some level of that when the politicians belong to our political party, or we share, certain ideologies with them. And that just brings the whole system down. And I really think that's what's happening with the whole public safety issue in Washington state. And the police pursuit debate is a really good example of this. I was on vacation for 2 weeks, but tracking this very closely. In fact, there's a hearing on it tomorrow that I'll get to at the end, because I got a little call to action for you guys. But there were some things said by Democrats about the police pursuit law and their defense of the law they passed in 2021, which dramatically limited police pursuits. There are some things they said that honestly have crossed a threshold into simply insulting and demeaning. And there are a few lawmakers who I really think owe their constituents an apology for the way that they've approached this issue. Now, let me start by saying that the pursuit issue is complicated. No one is saying that police pursuits aren't dangerous. They're dangerous for everyone involved. The suspect who decided to flee from law enforcement and put everyone out in the roadway at risk. They're dangerous for law enforcement. They're dangerous for the public at large. Nobody is actively encouraging police pursuits to happen. And I think that's been like this misnomer that we want cops to just go around chasing people at 105 miles an hour. No one wants that, not even the police. And that's why I was so incredibly disgusted, honestly, with some comments made by Democratic State Representative Julia Reed. She represents part of Seattle, the 36th Legislative District. And the lawmakers were having these town halls, some of them virtual, some of them in person while I was gone. And this one was virtual. And so her comments are on video. And she was asked about whether she supports a fix for the pursuit law. Just listen to what she said.
This has been a really difficult thing to experience as a new member of the legislature, as a member of the Legislative Black Caucus, because I feel like a lot of the conversation around police pursuits has gotten wrapped up in this massive misinformation campaign. And not only is continuing that campaign a top priority for Republicans, but I see so many of my Democratic colleagues buying into it. And that's been really quite personally painful for me.
First of all, she is saying that opposition to the existing pursuit policy is part of some misinformation campaign from Republicans. Okay? That is so insulting to people who have come out in good faith and for good reasons to oppose the pursuit law. You might recall the week that I left on vacation, we had a rally on the steps of the state capitol. And Amber Goldade, who's the mother of a 12-year-old who was killed in a hit and run by a guy who should have been stopped by police had they been able to pursue him just a little while earlier. She came out and gave these heartfelt remarks urging lawmakers to change the existing policy.
If the police were able to pursue him, he could have been caught and put back in jail, preventing him from harming innocent, law-abiding citizens and not kill my daughter.
So when she says that opposition to the pursuit law is a part of a massive misinformation campaign fueled by Republicans, would she say that to the face of Amber Goldade and the Goldade family? Are they being duped by Republicans? Is their pain, is their loss not real? Could their daughter not have been saved had the man who killed her been able to be pursued by police? Of course she wouldn't say that to their face. She'd say it over a Zoom, apparently, though, to her constituents in Seattle who she knows are just going to eat it up.
I feel like a lot of the conversation around police pursuits has gotten wrapped up in this massive misinformation campaign. Not only is continuing that campaign a top priority for Republicans, but I see so many of my Democratic colleagues buying into it. And that's been really quite personally painful for me.
I sent an email to the representative and to her office. And I asked specifically, I said, Could Representative Reed point to specific examples of misinformation that have been spread on this issue? Specific examples, because the only and the biggest misinformation that has been spread on this issue has come from Democrats. And it was proven to be bad information based on a member of their own party who hired an outside expert to look into it. Democrats had lifted up this study from this former UW professor that they said showed there had been a dramatic decrease in the number of innocent bystanders killed in police pursuits since the law took effect, and that was simply not true. And an independent expert reviewed this study and said, this study is so flimsy it shouldn't be used as the basis for any sort of political decision-making or policy-making. Yet, even after it had been debunked, Senator Manka Dhingra, chair of Law and Justice, continued to use that study as a justification not to change the policy. So the only actual misinformation, the biggest misinformation, has been Democrats who've used that study. But the other misinformation came from Representative Reed during her statement that Republicans are spreading misinformation.
Basically, the line that people want you to believe is that the reason crime is up is because of all these woke policies, because we listen too much to the Black Lives Matter people, and now look where we've gotten, and we've got to change and make sure police have unlimited ability to act in any way that they see fit.
She says they want us to change and make sure police have unlimited ability to act in any way that they see fit. Who's they? Who is pushing for a change in the policy that would allow police to act in any way they see fit? No one. And I included that in the email. I said, could Representative Reed point specifically to comments or policy proposals that would make sure police have unlimited ability to act in any way they see fit? I'm sure it won't come as a surprise to you that she nor her office have responded. Neither she nor her office have responded to that request for comment. Very specific questions. I mean, surely she's the one accusing people of spreading misinformation on the police pursuit policy. Surely she doesn't intend to spread her own misinformation. You can't make this stuff up. And this is what happens. And again, she's saying this on a Zoom to her constituents in Seattle at a town hall, where she knows by and large they agree with her ideologically, and they're not going to hold her accountable for blatant lies, for demeaning victims like Amber Golday and her family and her 12-year-old daughter by suggesting that their opposition is just part of a massive misinformation campaign. It is really something to behold. And this is why I say, for Democrats, diehard Democrats who, even if they have a lawmaker who lies like this blatantly, they're going to vote for them because they won't vote for a Republican. You do know that you can find Democrats who won't lie to you like this, right? They do exist. To me, it's a direct insult to your intelligence, to your ability to make informed decisions on your own. And it's an insult to every single person in this state who has the right to care about whether they're safe when they hit the roadway, who has a right to be worried if their car is stolen, to be angry if their car is stolen, to want police to be able to pursue a suspect. It's so unbelievably condescending. And people just allow it because, again, it goes back to political party and this obsession we have with allowing people to treat us like this as long as they support laws we like. It's wild to me. So, and I could go on and on this issue on things that happened and things that were said while I was gone and during these town halls. You heard in that soundbite that Representative Reed basically says, in addition to her saying, oh, you're just a dummy who's being duped if you support changing the law, she brings it back to Black Lives Matter. And she's, as a Black woman, saying it's deeply disappointing that some Democrats even support this changing the law as a member of the legislative Black Caucus. Okay, so now you're telling us that we're racist if we want the law fixed. If we don't feel safe, we want the law fixed, we see what's happening on our streets, we push back, your fellow Democrats push back, we're racist. Governor Jay Inslee has said that he would sign the police pursuit fix if it makes it to his desk. Is he racist? And so it's this, again, these cheap shots, misinformation, deception, outright lies that shows a lack of respect for the people they serve. I remember us talking about Senator Manka Dhingra when there was pushback to the bill, her saying, oh, it's based on people who are having an emotional reaction to it. Again, just, okay, so now we're racist if we oppose it, we're emotional if we oppose it, we're being duped by a massive Republican misinformation campaign if we oppose the existing law. And then there was another, and I was actually down in Olympia for this testimony on the Senate floor. Senator Twina Nobles, a Democrat who represents Furcrest, she got up and she said this.
I have heard from a number of people that the fear that has been instilled in them from our local law enforcement is what causes them to absolutely believe that the laws that we passed in 2021 are not working.
And again, when I hear that, I hear someone who has so little regard for the intelligence of her constituents that she thinks the only way that they would not support a policy she supports is if they were lied to or fear-mongered or duped. It's like, are you really not open to the possibility that people might actually oppose it, like on the basis of fact and on the basis of what's happening in their communities and on the basis of their fear for themselves and their families? It's pretty wild. And, another thing Senator Twina Nobles brought up is that, she brought up stories of innocent bystanders who have been killed in pursuits, as if Republicans or people who support change in the law don't think those stories matter. They absolutely matter. We have to have a holistic, reasonable, fact-based conversation about the policy and what's happening on our streets. And that includes, yes, the fact that police pursuits are dangerous, and sometimes people who aren't involved in them die, and that's awful. The question isn't whether there's a perfect solution. The question is what solution is less problematic. And that's the debate we need to have, is yes, when a criminal decides to flee from law enforcement, there are dangers involved. It's not the fault of the police. It's the fault of the criminal who's fleeing. So the question is it more dangerous to pursue them or more dangerous to allow them to continue on into the community and continue their criminal behavior? That's the debate we have to be having. And I'll end with this. Democrats in the entire House Committee on Public Safety, Justice, and Reentry is going to hear the watered-down version of the police pursuit fix in committee tomorrow, Tuesday, 4 p.m. And I wish they would use this as an opportunity to show, because Democrats are in charge in the committee, I wish they would use that hearing as an opportunity to actually listen to their constituents without denigrating them. Unfortunately, however, Democrats have decided to hear that particular bill in executive session. And that means that the debate on it will happen behind closed doors, and there will be no public testimony allowed on it, which is really, really disappointing. They know how much public interest there is on this bill. To decide, okay, we're going to have these conversations, we're going to hash this out behind closed doors is unfathomable to me. And so I would encourage you to email Representative Roger Goodman, who is the chair of the Public Safety Committee in the House. Nice guy. I've had him on before when I was filling in over on Kyra Radio. Really nice guy. Keep your emails polite, but urge them to open this up to public testimony tomorrow. And again, if you want to go, I'm going to try to make it down there because they will come back and vote. And sometimes they talk a little bit about, explain their vote a little bit. So I am going to go down there again, 4 p.m., Community Safety, Justice, and Reentry Committee. So if you can come down, I know that Future 42 is going to be down there. They're going to have some buttons you can wear if you'd like. And you can just be, I guess, if you can't speak, a visual representation of opposition to the existing policy and support for some sort of solution. The previous segment was brought to you in partnership with Future 42. Turn your frustration into action at future42.org.